Hello and welcome to Hotline. My name is Matthew Poppins and I am the host of today's show. Today we'll be talking about the internet here at CFU and what it's doing to change society. If you could each introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourselves now.
Hi, I'm Rob Houlihan, the Chief Technology Officer at Cedar Falls Utilities, also the Director of Communications. My team and I build the internet infrastructure. We look at the technologies that are needed to build the internet infrastructure, and when things go wrong, we troubleshoot problems to make sure that the service is working for our customers.
My name is Betty Zeman, and I'm the Public Information Officer at CFU. So I try to help keep our customers informed about our services.
We now have a video to show about President Obama's visit that he made to Cedar Falls a few weeks ago.
So today, Cedar Falls is Iowa's first gigabit city. Now that sounds like something out of a Star Wars movie, gigabit city. Here's what it means. Your network is as fast as some of the best networks in the world. There's Hong Kong, Tokyo, Paris, Cedar Falls. Right? That's the company you're keeping. You are almost 100 times faster than the national average. 100 times faster. You can log on for about the same price as some folks pay for a fully loaded cable bundle. So today you've got small businesses like Mark's that are serving clients worldwide. Google named you the best city in Iowa for e-commerce. And what you're showing is that here in America, you don't have to be the biggest community to do really big things. You just have to have some vision, and you have to work together. You know, when you're first in something, when you figure something out, you may not know all the applications right away, but that's the spirit of America, imagining what might come next. We may not always know what's right around the corner, but we know we'll figure it out as long as we're bold and we go ahead and work together. You know, we've been through some very hard times. We didn't always know those hard times were coming. But we pulled together, we worked together, we relied on each other, we believed in each other, and we figured it out. We're blessed with the greatest natural resource in the world. Not corn, but the pluck and the ingenuity and the willingness to take risks of the American people. And I'm absolutely confident if we just give Americans the tools they need, if we just help lay the foundation and allow them to access the amazing opportunities and technologies at this moment in world history, we're not just going to continue recovering from a bad recession. We're going to ignite the next generation of American innovation. And it's going to start right here in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Thank you. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you.
Now, we know that Obama came here to talk about something called broadband, but myself and I'm sure lots of other people aren't exactly sure what broadband is. Could you explain what broadband is for us?
Actually, if you don't mind, I've got a story to share about that conversation that video we just watched with President Obama. When we met with him, his advisors in the days previous, they had mentioned how he's very intellectually curious, and I was like, oh, he's going to fit right in here because we're also very curious intellectually. And I know that producing the show are a lot of Cedar Falls school students, and I think what CFU has as far as our vision and mission statements and what the schools have, because I know the schools, part of their vision or mission is to create lifelong learners. Well, that's right along the lines of what the president's talking about as far as being innovative and being able to figure out tough problems. So what he was talking about and what the schools offers and what CFU is about, I think it all meshes together, which is one of the reasons why CFU has been so successful in everything that we've done. So just a side note there. But as far as broadband goes, it just means always on high-speed internet access. And what high speed means today isn't necessarily what it meant yesterday or years ago. To us right now, broadband is 50 megabits a second, just a high-speed internet service that's always on, unlike back from the dial-up days where you had to dial up on your modem and get access to service online.
And why is broadband such an important thing to have?
We use it in our daily lives all the time. More and more, and especially in 2008 and 2009, we began to realize how critical it was for everyday life. We heard from our business community that anytime we had an outage or an interruption of service, it was really impacting these guys because they rely on this service to always be available. And that was on the business side. And on the residential side, it's become equally as important. We use it for our daily communications. A lot of my communications with my friends I do through Facebook messaging or other online services. And so if it's not available, it's a problem. And so in 2010, when we started our fiber project, part of the impetus was to increase the reliability.
Yeah, and as a student, internet is very important to me because a lot of the homework that I do is on my computer nowadays. And some days the Wi-Fi goes out at the high school, and then we can't do anything, so it's
Right.
kind of lost time.
That's really true for businesses too. If there's a day at the office where the internet isn't working, you almost might as well send everyone home. It's just a service that people can't do business without anymore. And actually, that's really how CFU Internet came about, is there was a demand for that service, and nobody in the market was providing it. And so that's why community broadband got started in Cedar Falls.
Now, you said community broadband. What's the difference between private broadband and community broadband?
Well, in Cedar Falls, the broadband network is actually owned by the community. So back in 1994, the community had a vote, a referendum, on the question of whether Cedar Falls should form its own broadband network. And there were actually 3 questions on the ballot for that referendum. One of them was, should we form a community broadband system? The second one was, should CFU run it? And the third one was to provide financing to build it. So the community owns it through CFU, and we, Rob's team, builds and maintains the system, and we actually are the service provider over the system. So you might say that the system is owned by its customers. Well, if you're owned by your customers, that has a lot to say about how you do business. So our entire reason for being in business is to provide a service that the community needs, and that's why we reinvested to make the system so much better when we built the fiber to the home network between 2010 and 2013. Because the usage on the system was growing so fast, we needed to be able to deliver a lot more bandwidth to every customer. So that's why we needed to make that investment. If we were more concerned about maximizing the profitability of the network, we might not have invested all that money and made as big an improvement to the system as we did. But because our primary goal is customer service and meeting the community's needs, we wanted to build a network that would do that for many years to come.
Rob, you mentioned something about megabits and the computing speed. Can you explain the system of computing speed, like megabits and gigabits, for people who don't really understand that?
As far as the different speeds go, so back in the day when we used dial-up modems to get access online,
Before you were born.
Yeah, we measured those in it might be a 28 kilobit connection. So that's 0.028 megabits. A lot of DSL providers can offer anywhere from 1 to 3, or maybe if they're really good, 7 or 20 megabits. Our top speed is 1,000 megabits. So to abbreviate that, we call that a gigabit. It's just 1,000 megabits.
And Cedar Falls High School issues Chromebooks to each of its students. Do you know the computing speed of Chromebooks?
So that's interesting, because what Betty was saying about businesses relying so heavily on their internet access, there's a lot of businesses in town who don't have servers at their offices anymore. Everything they do is in the cloud, whether it's using Gmail for their email service or an online service for their customer relation software. Chromebooks are similar in that they don't have a lot of processing power inside them. The power is in the access to the cloud and the services through Google that you can get online. And so for that business customer who has all their servers in the cloud, if their internet connection goes away, like Betty said, they may as well close up shop and head home for the day. But of course, if they're on CFU, they don't go down, but, or we hope they don't. So the schools is the same way, where everyone at the high school has a Chromebook, and if that internet service isn't working, it can have an impact to all the students.
Absolutely. What are the pros and cons of Cedar Falls having community broadband as opposed to a private broadband?
Well, we think one of the big advantages, of course, is local control and the mission-driven nature of the service, which is all about meeting the community's needs. It can be, on the con side, it can be more difficult to get a community broadband system up and running than if you're in the private sector, where you can just use investor money, and investors own it, and they have the motivation, of making money. So it can be harder to get it up and running. Some communities have really struggled with that, who would like to have community services. When we did it in Cedar Falls, it really was a grassroots, community-driven initiative. So our launch actually went pretty well, but there have been struggles with that in other places.
Are there any sort of laws that limit cities' access to community broadband, like cities outside of Cedar Falls but near Cedar Falls? Can they have our broadband?
No.
Yeah, we can't serve any communities outside of Cedar Falls, since we're formed by the city, the citizens of Cedar Falls. Our territory is the Cedar Falls city limits. We've gotten questions to serve other communities nearby, and what we can do is we can offer them wholesale services. So if they build their own network, we can supply them with the video signal or the internet service. So we can provide that on a wholesale service, but we can't retail outside the city limits.
Right. The way state law works is that a municipal utility in Iowa can only serve the community that owns it. Okay. So since Cedar Falls owns our municipal utility, we can only provide services to people in Cedar Falls.
And how does Cedar Falls benefit economically from having broadband
We certainly think that high-quality broadband is a quality of life amenity that makes Cedar Falls a more attractive place to live. It's funny, a couple of years ago we expanded our service territory to include some areas out in the country, outside the city limits of Cedar Falls. And I remember one of the installers saying that they were installing high-speed internet for the first time in this house outside of town. And the people told them, you know, now that we have high-speed internet, our son will come home from college this summer. Because he told us if we didn't have high-speed internet, he wasn't coming home. I know that my kids who are in their 20s would never live in a place that didn't have great broadband service. They just wouldn't consider it. And certainly it's difficult for businesses to locate in a place where it's hard to get or expensive to get high-quality internet service, because it's just something you have to run your business. So it's one of many things about Cedar Falls that makes Cedar Falls a great place to start a business and grow a business. It's not the only thing, but it's one of many important things.
Are there any other communities that are working toward having an internet as fast as ours?
Yes, actually, Waverly is, they just got their financing in place last week, and they're going to start building a network very similar to ours. And I think they'll have, I'm not sure when they'll have customers connected, but they're working on it right now, and it'll be sooner than later they'll have service available in Waverly.
There are other cities in Iowa who have built municipal networks. I don't know if any of them have upgraded to gig at this point.
Muscatine has announced they're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Independence has some areas that are fiber, though I'm not sure if they're doing gig there at those locations.
Right. And then there are a number of cities across the country who have gigabit networks, and many of them are community-owned.
Rob, you mentioned the fiber network that Cedar Falls has. What is a fiber network, and how does it improve the internet that we have?
Well, a fiber network, I've got a little show and tell here. This is a 288 fiber cable. So inside this cable are 288 fibers, and you can see here this these individual strands. Each one of those strands would serve. We have a strand of fiber to each home in town, and you can see they're pretty small fibers. Using these fibers, we connect to, at the home, we serve with a device called an ONT, an optical network terminal. And that is, we bring the fiber in the back here, and then this, we hand off Ethernet to your Wi-Fi router in your home. And since we have fiber to every home, today we can offer 1 gig service, but at some point that won't be enough, and we'll need either 10 gig or 100 gig. And the nice thing about our network is we can just replace the ONT at the home, and the other end of the fibers is lit by another device called an OLT, and we can replace those two ends, and bam, we're going at 10 gig or 100 gig or whatever we decide to do. So the vast majority of the cost is getting the fiber in the ground to every home in town, and then relatively inexpensively down the road we can upgrade to higher speeds as we need. So it really allows us, it's a network that we built for the future, and we can upgrade it down the road as needed.
Do you think that there are any ways that the fiber network could be improved in the future?
Yeah, just like I said, when we need more capacity, it's relatively easy to upgrade.
One thing we've learned, we've been in this business now for 18 years, and one thing we've learned is that customers use more bandwidth sooner than you ever thought they would. So it was really important to us when we did this network upgrade that it was scalable for the future, that we would be able to upgrade through the same strand of fiber to the house. We'll be able to deliver more bandwidth, like Rob was explaining, by changing out the electronics on the ends.
So year over year, our peak bandwidth has grown 83%. Year after year for 18 years has grown by that much, so leaps and bounds every year. And we figured at some point it would slow down, but it hasn't. In 2006, this thing came along called YouTube, and all this video traffic now is across the network, and now Netflix, and we just don't see it slowing down. With Netflix now, you can stream 4K, so that takes even more bandwidth. YouTube has some 4K channels as well. So that's the next version of it's ultra high def video is 4K video, and it takes a lot more bandwidth. So we're just going to keep seeing the usage and the usage increase year over year. So.
We now have some pictures to show about Obama's visit. If you could explain what's happening in each of the pictures.
Panic sets in. It really is the president. Oh my gosh. He was very energetic and very friendly. I think we were a little nervous, and as soon as he came up and started talking to us, he put us right at ease.
Of course, that's Rob shaking hands with the president in that picture.
And back there, being a geek, you can see the purple device. That's the OLT that I was talking about. And he had asked a question about the fiber and what we had on the table there. We showed him splicing fiber because these are tubes of glass that need to match up like a hose. You have to match up the ends of the hose for stuff to pass through it. And in this case, the stuff is light. So he's looking at one of these fibers here. And so then Dave showed him how to actually splice the fiber up. And yeah, there I'm pointing at the splicing machine. Back in the day, these were really expensive devices. And since over time they've come down in price. Each one of our techs has a splicer, so they can fix problems in the field whenever they see them. So we're able to restore service as quickly as possible.
And what was it like meeting President Obama?
I think anytime a sitting president comes to visit you, it's quite an honor. I never thought I'd get that opportunity in my life, and it was a lot of fun. I was pretty nervous ahead of time, but also excited because he came here for a reason. And in the first video that you showed, he mentioned our ultra high speed internet service we have here. And when the advanced team came, they had asked they needed a 6 meg internet connection. Because they stream live the video that you saw. They stream it live from the White House website. I was like, well, 6 meg. I mean, we're a gigabit city. How about I give you a gig? And they're like, oh, that's okay. I guess I just want a huge bill for this. And I said, this is what we do all day long. And so we got it installed, got it tested. They did a speed test, and it was 900 meg. They sent a screenshot of the speed test to Washington D.C. and their jaws dropped. They're like, this is the fastest speed test we've seen ever in the world.
And they've been everywhere.
And they've been everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this is why your boss is coming, because we're awesome. So it was kind of fun.
He asked you a lot of questions, right, during the demo?
He did. He's like I said, he's very curious and just interested in how things work and why we did stuff a certain way. So.
Were there any points that President Obama made during his address that you'd like to emphasize?
Betty?
You know, he talked about the fact that access to high-speed broadband, affordable access to high-speed broadband, really is an innovation engine, that it's something that allows people to create new businesses, to grow the businesses that they're already in, and just to dream big. And we certainly think that's true. We think that great broadband in Cedar Falls does allow people to dream big. So it was really wonderful to have the president recognize that, and to do the blog post from the White House video blog that he did about CFU's internet speed being on par with the best networks in the world. That's pretty fabulous recognition, and it was much appreciated by all of us, because it helps us get the word out to businesses that might be looking for a place to locate or to grow.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that a small town like Cedar Falls in the middle of the Midwest, which isn't really known for technological advances, has one of the best internets in the world.
Mm-hmm. It's a great story, and the president sure helped us tell it to a bigger audience.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today about CFU's internet?
Probably just the connectivity we have out of the city. So we are a small town in the Midwest, and we built this high-speed network in town. And actually, Wade Arnold took us to task when we announced we were going to build the network. He's with he started Banno, T8 Webware, which became Banno, and now is owned by Jack Henry. He said, "You're going to build a super highway in town, but it's going to end at a 2-lane road," and he was right. And so we took his challenge, or his advice, to heart, and we obtained ultra high-speed links to Chicago, Des Moines, and Kansas City. And at each of those locations, we peer with the 3 largest networks in the world. So we have this network here that is connected, essentially, think of it as to the heart of the internet. So the 3 biggest networks in the world, the 3 most highly connected networks in the world, we have direct access to. So what that means is when you're playing a game online, to get the information that you pulled the trigger and made the kill in the game online, that you're connected right to the heart of the internet, and that's going to happen that much faster. So that's a big piece for what we've done here.
One of the reasons the internal network performs so well is because of the external connectivity that Rob and his team worked really hard to build, and that they continue to expand. I know you're expanding it even more, so.
Always more bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they've built that geographic diversity so that we connect to the internet backbone in 3 different cities, to 3 different networks, really guards against failures that might take your service out for several hours or even a day or 2. Because of course, fiber optic cable is, it's a real thing. And it's buried in the ground, and someone can cut it when they're working in a right-of-way.
Most of the time, farmers like to burn it. They'll burn ditches, and the ditch fire will get a little too hot, and will actually melt the fiber. We've seen that a number of times.
Wow.
And actually, so yeah, we can sustain the loss of connectivity to Des Moines, or if there's an issue in Chicago that, power goes out in Chicago for some reason. Our service will still work. Our customers won't know the difference. Mm-hmm. We have enough bandwidth that even at our peak, we can lose any one of those 3 main links and still deliver full service to our customers.
Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming on to the show today, and tune in next week for another great Hotline.